Hey, everybody, welcome to episode 1 of the AI Outcomes podcast. And yeah, as it's episode 1, look, I'm just starting out right. I just wanted to give you kind of like a bit of background. Why am I starting this podcast? Who is it for? Why is it hopefully going to bring value to people? That's the whole point, right? In anything that's related to a business podcast. And I guess, like many of you, my kind of first like holy cow moment in relation to AI was, I think, probably November 2022. November 2022 is when I first saw ChatGPT. And I'm not a technology guy, right? I absolutely get excited about the outcomes that technology can deliver for one of my B2B customers, for example. Of course, I get excited about that, but the technology itself has never really kind of excited me. But when I saw ChatGPT, I was like, wow, that's something really, really clever. Then, if you recall, I think we got 3.5 and now we're on 4.0. And it kind of, ChatGPT for me went from this thing of just like, it's quite interesting. It seems to be know a lot, to now I can kind of brainstorm with it and it seems to have this kind of intelligence. And that was just in such a short space of time that ChatGPT came out. Obviously, you've got the other kind of different large language models as well. Yeah, everyone's kind of doing the same, but it was the rate of acceleration of just ChatGPT that you could just see with your own eyes and experience that I was like, okay, holy cow. My next kind of holy cow moment was thinking, well, okay, we've always had this kind of view that AI is going to take people's jobs. And I was kind of like, yeah, well, we'll see. Lots of technologies have said that over the years. And yeah, has it ever really happened on massive scale? But when I saw ChatGPT, I was like, okay, and I saw the rate it was developing. I was like, yeah, I can see how these AI technologies are going to automate out job roles. And so then the next thought that one has is, well, what about my job role? Right? Is that going to get automated out? And perhaps the answer is yes, at some point. Yes, this technology is going to do that. And then what happens then? And so I started this level of interest, and I realized I didn't know enough about the technology, the outcomes, kind of the terminology related to AI. And kind of like, I'm a big YouTube user, and so I go on YouTube, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and the focus there seemed to be on the technology itself and how it works. And yeah, that's interesting, but it's not kind of where my focus has always been. For those of you that know me, I've just worked in B2B enterprise sales my whole life, or my whole career, right? I started out in technology, and then I moved into outsourcing. And so all of my career, I've been helping customers solve their problems, achieve their vision, kind of using technology and services. And so for me, that's kind of the lens through which I look at everything. And along that, my career, I've never gone deep dive into the technology. And I don't particularly want to do that with AI. There's far better people out there who can do that. But what I realized was that I needed to do some research. And kind of, where are we now? We're in November. I realized kind of late spring, early summer, I didn't know enough about this technology. I realized also that some of the big B2B customers or corporations out there were already deploying AI, kind of the early stage, sort of earlier on that maturity spectrum. And so I wanted to go take a look and do some research and understand, right, who's using this? What are the big companies using AI for? What outcomes are they trying to achieve? And so I thought, well, if I've got to go and do that work anyway, um, And I'm guessing there's a whole bunch of people in B2B sales that are in kind of the same boat as me, that they kind of know this thing's coming, and actually some of them even sell AI solutions. Yet there seems to be this kind of like just general we're not up to speed enough on this thing. I thought, why don't I just record my own research and just put it out there, and so other people can benefit from it. And so that's where the concept of this podcast was born. And I've called it AI Outcomes because I want to keep kind of laser focused on the outcome. Now, when we talk about outcomes, using AI, we've got kind of large language models, and I guess we're all getting with Claude, Anthropic, and Google, and we've got X as Grok. I guess we're all kind of getting used to. I'm kind of just a ChatGPT guy because that was the first one I heard about, so I was like, hey, I'm going to subscribe, and so. But there's other types of AI, and those other types of AI have been around for a long time. So, for example, we've got robots, we've got humanoid robots, we've got companies like FigureAI. I've got a video to show you here where humanoid robots are already at work in people's factories. Who knew? So, if I just kind of add to stage here my first video for you, this is BMW using the FigureAI robot today. So there we go. That's the FigureAI robot at work in the BMW factory today, and it kind of looks a little bit. Let me just stop that. It kind of, it's a little bit clunky, isn't it? It's a little bit, it's not quite there. It's not quite the stuff of movies, kind of futuristic movies. But the pace that AI is moving at means that robot's brain, which is the AI, it's just going to get better and better and better and better very, very quickly. So that's kind of one use case. If I show you another use case, and let's go to Tesla. So Tesla have launched full self-drive. They've had to change the name. Let me just step back. Tesla have launched full self-drive in certain places in the USA. It might be all over the USA now, but those owners of Tesla were suddenly aware that their car was already capable of doing AI inferencing, i.e., the car autonomously driving on its own, and they just had to kind of subscribe or download a kind of a software update. And now Tesla have done multiple updates of full self-drive. But let's take a look at this one, which is Tesla. Let me just get. I'm a little bit slow. I'm a little bit clunky like that robot, right? Because I'm just starting out today. But I really wanted to show you this. This is Tesla with the smart summon feature. And who doesn't want this, right?
And like I said, I use this all the time. I'm demonstrating the come to me functionality. There's another go to target functionality, and here it's pulling out of its spot and it's coming down the aisle to pick me up. Now, I will say that yesterday, and especially as of recently, even with 12.3.6, I've had a couple issues where with 12.3.6, after using Smart Summon, I noticed that the FSD setting had turned off, and I had to return it back on again. And then yesterday, when I was testing with 12.4.1 in a parking lot, it completely disabled all of the visualizations. I couldn't turn on FSD, even though the setting was still on. I did have to do a reset of the DAS, the driver assistance system, which AI driver had told me after working 6 years at Tesla, that's what you can do to get it working.
Okay, so you see a Tesla owner in a kind of Costco car park or whatever, somewhere in USA, just pressing the button in the app, and the car with nobody in it on its own, all by itself, pulls out of the parking space and drives around to where he is, and he gets in. And he's describing, isn't he? Oh yeah, I had to do a reset. It was there was some issues with it, but this technology is coming, right? And Tesla full self-drive, I should say, I think they've had to adjust the name of it. It's supervised full self-drive. So you can't just kind of go to sleep. You still have to be in charge of the vehicle. But maybe we'll do a little video on what Tesla are doing. It's absolutely amazing. They've of course got their humanoid robots as well, so they are all coming, everybody. So I just want to kind of just frame it up for you. And this podcast, I hope most of you will be able to watch this on video. I'm going to launch on YouTube, but I'm going to try and get video on the other platforms where I can. But otherwise, it's going to be audio only. I think, like right now on Spotify and Apple, it's just going to have to be audio only, and that's like because of my inability to work the technology. Okay, it's nothing to do with those technology platforms. But right now, I've got a good YouTube channel. It's kind of well established. So if you want to kind of get the most from this podcast, I want it to be kind of like video, or I want to share my screen, because that's what I like when I'm watching a podcast. I love it. I love to have some visuals as well. So yeah, that's where this podcast came from. I keep bumping into the microphone. Honestly, starting the podcast, I can't tell you how clunky I have been. But look, I've got my studio set up, and I've actually got my show notes printed out in front of me, because I was like, all these different screens open. I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to go back to basics. So if you see me looking down, here's my show notes. Maybe I'll release those at some point. So let's get into this. So I've covered kind of why I've started this, given you some instances of kind of what's grabbed me already and where my interest is, and it's what the AI can help us do. That's what I'm interested in, and I'm very, very interested when it starts impacting job roles. Very interested in that. So I think if there is a kind of like potential threat ever. And I think for most people, they would say, hey, yeah, if something's coming along to take my job role at some point, I'm kind of interested, and I kind of see that as threatening. Now, I think, well, let's get on the right side of the AI. So people are kind of talking, it's almost like hyperbole, isn't it? With people saying, oh, AI is going to be bigger than the Industrial Revolution. I kind of don't doubt that it is. And it's just like, how fast is that going to happen? We've got these profound kind of changes that are coming. And I was like, right, so how do we get on the right side of anything that we don't get, we are a little bit worried about, we see it as a little bit of a threat? Knowledge, right? Deep dive. Knowledge is power. Understand the technology, understand how it's being used today. And then you'll start being able to go, oh, okay, I can see what business areas of business are going to be automated first. And that's what I also wanted to focus on in this podcast, is try and like, right, let's understand this thing, figure out where it's going first. What's the kind of priority areas where automation might take out job roles, and kind of not shy away from that conversation. I think it's fundamentally important, right?